grew up in a small town near Chicago, and it was there was a lot of music going on in that town. There was some school orchestras, and a lot of people uh, studied music and took music lessons, and there was there were bands and orchestras in all the schools. I guess it's a little bit different now in a lot of places, but they were really sort of part of the curriculum, really. Just violin, and I studied with a violinist from the Chicago Symphony, and well, actually, I started when I was about 5 with a guy who I didn't like at all, and he taught with a series of threats. It was not good. He said, if you don't put your fingers in the right place, I know how to put nails on it so that you'll get hurt if you don't play the right note. And I said, I mean, first of all, couldn't imagine how we could design a system like that, and why he would want to, and why he wouldn't just design a system where every time you hit a right note, it would be a very pleasant feeling to your fingers. But he didn't have that approach. He didn't seem to like kids. So that was my first experience with violin, and it was a bad one. I don't know why I kept playing, because it was torture to go over to his house and hear that I was never good enough. I was just really lucky that I liked music enough to keep going, even though that was a very, very negative experience. I'd actually forgotten until just now how much I didn't like walking over to his house, and going into his dark little room and playing scales. I would just say to kids, make sure you are, if you're studying with a teacher, that this is a good person, that you feel happy with that person. If you feel like it's not a good situation, then talk to your parents and say, it's not fun going over there, because you can teach children to love music, and you can teach them to be afraid of it. There are lots of teachers in the world, and many of them are just wonderful ones. So if you find that you're, for some reason, not liking music, make sure that you have a really inspiring teacher, because I think that if you're inspired to, and it doesn't mean you have to be a virtuoso. There are many ways to play music and have a really wonderful time without being a professional, or without being, so. But the most important part is that you feel that it takes you to another world to play music, and that that you feel free, instead of like it's a job. It's also a different world now than when I was a kid. Everybody's always getting evaluated and judged all the time. And so don't worry if you feel like you're a slacker. It's okay. You don't have to do everything 100% professionally. I mean, my skills as a violinist, I really stopped playing a lot when I was 16. I just realized I wasn't going to be, that if I wanted to really play, I wanted to play really well. And so that would mean that I wouldn't be able to do other things that I wanted to do, like learn German, physics. Here I am at the end of my life. I don't know German or physics, and I can't play the violin that well either, but it doesn't matter, because I really love playing, and I play my own way. So there are plenty of ways to play, these days. I think just that I had a lot of fun making things. That it was just fun to make things. It was really, I felt free. So that was why. I don't have this formal idea of who I am. I'm a person who does a lot of different things. I'm not a composer or an artist. So I, I make music and I make sculpture and make different things. So I guess I always felt that I could make things, and I didn't need to label myself artist. And I know, and when I talk to young artists, I try to say, because they're like, oh, I can't call myself an artist. That's what Van Gogh was. It would be too nervy to say I'm an artist. And I tried to say, I hate to tell you this, but not many people care what you call yourself. They care about as much as you care about what they call themselves, which is not a lot. So knock yourself out, call yourself an artist, a composer, a genius, whatever makes you feel good. I personally feel that labels are more limiting than defining. Yeah. So that if you think maybe I'm a free person, that's a way to, I think for me, it's been a way to help me have some coherence, that I have choices, and so sometimes if you call yourself an artist and then you kind of go, oh, well, an artist wouldn't do political things or something like that. That's not what art is. Well, you're boxing yourself in. So I think that's something to remember, is to stay loose on the labeling front. I know that there's a lot of pressure to brand ourselves and say what we are and what we do and summarize it really quickly and simply. But, I think it's important to remember that, you're not for sale. Although it feels like in our culture that you are for sale, that we're all for sale. Just so when I first started working with a record company, they said, well, we need you to work on, you need an image, we need to put your image together. And I was like, and I did it as a joke, so I feel bad about that. I contributed to this idea that you have to get an image or something that you're known for. I can compose the whole piece just with one instrument, and so that's how that piece was done. I like to work with electronics and invent filters also. So that's the result of a single instrument that is generating lots of parts at once. So that's how that was done. Sometimes it's just I run out of time and it's good enough. Sometimes I have no ideas left. Sometimes I think, oh, that's actually quite nice as it is. I think I'll stop. So different things. I don't have a set method for that. Well, do it your own way, maybe. Just play around with it. Feel free to play with it. If you want to improvise, fine. It's like fine with me. Take some of those ideas. Or I like to also try things in very different kinds of modes. So try to play it as the saddest piece you've ever heard, or as the jolliest, or just have a good time experimenting. The wonderful thing is that you have so many options as a musician. You can do so many different kinds of things now. It can be very theoretical, it can be very experimental, you can be classical, you can jump into any of those worlds and still be called a musician. I'm kind of living proof of that. It's just, I don't hesitate to do projects that don't sound at all like music. I mean, or that are peripheral. One of the things I've been doing lately is playing music with a chimp in Florida, and it's I find that I have, when you play music with someone, especially improv, you get to know them in a different way than you would if you're having a conversation, and that's what happened to me with that experiment. And so I have a lot of recordings of this. I think I'll do something with it. But anyway, what I'm just saying is, as we get more information, we understand a little better who we are in our world, and that people in the future, I think, will be able to feel free to make music for mosquitoes and listen to the mosquito music that they're making. There's so little we understand about our world, that and how to jump across to other consciousnesses. So anyway, that I think will be a wonderful time and situation in which to make music. So hello to all the people in the late 21st century, or wherever you're living.